we're 8 billion something plus people on this planet, having 8 billion independent, different experiences. It's like, so sometimes people will present information to you and it can be good information and maybe it'll work for your life. Just because it worked in their life doesn't necessarily mean it will work in your life, but you can, if it resonates with you, then, maybe there's a possibility that it will. But if you have to evaluate all the information that comes in because, everyone has an individual experience that is absolutely different than the next person sitting next to them. Even brothers and sisters have different experiences in the same house.
Welcome to Give a Heck. I am your host, Dwight Heck, and for much of my life, lived my life in quiet desperation, wondering how I was going to pay the bills, take vacations, save for retirement, and one day wondering if I would get off the hamster wheel of life and have purpose. A life that most of society lives, which takes us to work, then home, then repeat, and pays us hopefully enough just to survive. The harsh truth that most live with more months than money and have no idea how to live life on purpose, not by accident. This ensures the mass majority are living not just financially broke, however emotionally and mentally as well due to financial pressures. In each episode, I will introduce you to thoughts, ideas, and guests that can help you to learn how you too can live life on purpose, not by accident. Welcome back to the Give a Heck podcast, where we encourage you to live a life on purpose, not by accident. I am your host, Dwight Heck. Today's guest is a powerhouse of creativity and resilience. Troy Horne is a Broadway star, musician, entrepreneur, best-selling author, and dedicated father. He has performed as Tom Collins in Rent on Broadway, competed on NBC's The Sing-Off with Urban Method, and even appeared on Star Search. His music career has included touring with his own band and opening for legendary acts like Steve Miller and Government Fuel. Beyond the stage, Troy is a best-selling author with works including Middle Management, Finding Meaning, Clarity, and Success, and the Second Half of Life. This is where it all ends. From Broke Down to Bougie in 8 Unconventional Steps. Mental Toughness for Young Athletes, co-authored with his son, Moses. The AAU Basketball Bible. And First Time Dad, an expectant father's weekly guide to pregnancy. He and his wife founded Colorado School of Acting, and his mission is clear: to help people see how their lives can be everything they dream. With a story that blends performance, entrepreneurship, and fatherhood, Troy reminds us that passion and purpose are not limited by age or circumstance. Thank you, Troy, for coming on and sharing some of your life journey. I really appreciate it, brother.
Well, thank you for having me. That was quite a fun intro. I was like, oh man, that's kind of a fun little deal there. Thank you for sharing that and making that. That was cool. Thank you.
Yes, you're
Uh,
welcome. I think that the intro is one of the most important parts of any podcast, right? The
Definitely.
connection, right? To give
Hmm.
people a foundation of who you are and what they can potentially
Hmm.
hear, right? That I guess that hook, that emotional hook, that's what I'm looking for, to make sure that people get that, as I mentioned before we started recording, that warm and fuzzy, that connection in their heart, body, and soul, right? So I look
Yeah.
forward to our conversation. So we're going to get into the origin part. I mentioned to you how important it is. Before I
Yeah.
ask you about your origin, Troy, though, I want to share something. I grew up in survival mode myself, as I mentioned before we started recording, and it took me years to realize that living intentionally was the only way forward, right? That's
Right.
why I always ask my guests about their beginnings, because our origins truly shape everything, and so many people discount them. So,
Yeah.
Troy, can you do me a favor and share me your origin story? What was life like growing up? And how did those beginnings lead you into music, Broadway, and eventually in becoming the world-renowned author and entrepreneur that you are today?
Wow. Well, it all started, back in the I guess it'd be the early 80s, my friend. Like I was a kid living in Houston, Texas with my parents. Oddly enough, in the beginning, I went to like private school there, or like a private religious school there in Houston, Texas. Grew up there, and we were pretty, kind of like an isolated little unit, our family. And so, I mean, we had friends and family, but for the most part, it was us. And I think that foundation of just really being, family focused for us was something that really gave me a great foundation as a kid. And so, yeah, that was like my beginning, the whole GI Joes and the Transformers and all that stuff. That was a really big deal for me as a kid. And then growing up, I was like maybe 10 or 11 or so, and I just like to sing. I like to sing around the house. It was, my mom. We were the kind of family that would wake up every Saturday morning and clean the house, and there was gospel music playing throughout the house. So, I just loved singing along with it. I don't know what it was. And one Saturday, during that stuff, she was like, "You're going to sing in church this next Sunday. I'm going to talk to the pastor and I'm going to sing in church." And I was like, I was 11 years old. So I'm like, no, no. And she's like, "Yes, yeah, you are." So I talked my sisters into coming up and singing with me. They did. And I was a nervous wreck. I was terrified. I could hear those, kind of nerves where you have your heart beating and you can hear your pulse in your ears, kind of like nervous type of thing. Yeah. So I hopped up there and we sang. And Dwight, after that song, they gave us a standing ovation. And in that moment, I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. And so that's kind of like what started the whole music journey. Yeah, for me.
That's that's awesome though. I listened to the GI Joes and all that
Ha
stuff,
ha
and
ha.
I used to be
Yeah,
that
man.
I used to be that kid, right? We'd be into
Yeah,
those different things back in the day. We're gonna be one of those
yeah.
people back when I had to walk 2 miles uphill and two
Hey,
miles
both
back
ways.
uphill. Yeah, both
In
ways. Right,
the snow,
right.
in the
In the
snow.
snow, yes, and the snow was up to my neck, and I could, right. I grew up.
Yes,
I grew up.
absolutely.
I grew up in a very Catholic Christian family, going to
Mm,
church and singing in choir, being an altar
mm,
server, and being involved. And I remember my sisters were already singing at church, and I was told, like,
mm.
listen, you're gonna go sing with your sisters at church now. You're gonna get into the
Yeah,
choir, and being
yeah,
nervous, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
thinking, am I good enough? Right? Even back then, you don't may not understand imposter syndrome, but we all have it in
yes,
some form and
yes,
way because it's introduced to us by society. So I loved singing in church. I still like singing in church today.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I still believe, again, anybody that's listening or watching that understands me, especially over all the years of listening to me, knows I treat faith like a buffet. So I take what I like, I
mm,
leave what I don't.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
thing that I take the most of is the word and the belief in God, not what necessarily
Mm,
man interprets it to be. But, I just continue to, what do you want from me, God? What's your will? And
yeah,
back then, his will
yeah.
was that I serve at church, right? And even
Mm.
today, I still volunteer and do things in my church. Don't have to like everything, but I don't, right? I don't
Right,
have
right.
to like everybody and anyone. Doesn't mean I have to be
Yeah,
disrespectful to it though, right? I
right,
need
right,
to
right.
be cognizant of the sensitivity of others. I work on that. I'm not perfect, but I love the fact when you talked about being that 11-year-old at church. I can remember me being around that
Yeah.
age, and they put us smaller kids at the front and they staggered us. So
Yes,
feel, feeling like I was, a million eyes, laser eyes,
yes,
watching
yes.
you as you sing. But still today, even this past Sunday, singing at church, brings me gladness and joy, right? It really does. I'm not in a
Yeah.
choir anymore. I haven't been for years, but
Mm.
I like that connection. And I have been to Houston. Love that place. It's
Oh,
beautiful there. Yeah.
yeah.
I was in Texas for the first time in 2023. Had a friend of mine invite me to be on her TV show. She lives around Texas and says, I'm flying into the studio on this date. And I couldn't make any of the dates work in 2022. And I said, well, I can come
Hmm.
in January. And she was shocked that as a Canadian, she had asked me if I'd fly there. So I flew to Dallas to meet her. and then
Hmm.
spent the next 8 days in Texas because I knew people in Austin, I knew people in the
Okay.
Woodlands, I knew people in
Oh,
Houston, and there was
yeah.
a group of them that all met together in Houston, and we all got together a couple nights before I left because they wanted to meet me and I wanted to meet them. There were people that we were on calls together and stuff. So
Yeah.
I digress, but I liked Houston. I thought it was amazing going and got to go to, they took me to Galveston, the couple
Yeah.
that I was good friends with that live right in the Woodlands. And I got to see so many, yes, January is kind of cool there compared to
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
times of the year, but I like Texas. I would go back in a heartbeat. It was very much uh, enjoyed experience, right? So
Yeah.
it's when you brought that up, I smiled because that connection of being there, I can relate. Your love of singing, your GI Joes,
Hmm.
all that stuff, man. It's awesome. It's connection that we can share because I love singing too, not to the point where I was professional at it whatsoever, but I just
Hmm.
enjoyed standing there and screaming my lungs out, and I still do. Right? It's a
Definitely.
great part of life. So, is there anything else you'd like to share about your origin story before we go on?
Yeah, I mean, after that, there was the fun thing about making that decision at such a young age is that you are celebrated, I think, in the beginning. And this is also preparation for later in life. You are celebrated, and then as you persist on this dream, mission, or goal, then you get, kind of like warned against the downfalls. And at the time, being a kid, I just didn't know any better, and I was a little defiant. So I was like, I appreciate your warnings and that you should have a plan B and all these other things that are a little more realistic, but I'm going for this music thing. And I did, and you know, it many of in the early part of life, many of the things that could have made me turn around or made me stop were overcome because I was like, I have to show, the friends, whoever, whatever, that I can do this. But man, there were many, many very tough evenings where it was like, many turn back moments, as I like to say. But that led to being on Star Search, as we talked about before, and then that led to a scholarship to go sing in college. Before, while I was in Star Search, because I did Star Search my senior year, and then I went to university after that, and then yeah, led to moving to LA and a bunch of other getting a record deal and doing Broadway and touring and all those other things. So yeah, yeah, it
Gee,
was a
that's
cool little thing.
fantastic. Do you think though, like you talked about being celebrated and then the pressure, and
Mm,
then people say that you have to have a plan B. Do you think
mm.
that if that wouldn't be put on us at yet such a young age because we had one thing that was shining to people, so now they have a further expectation of us. Do you think that if that hadn't have happened to you, you would have gotten farther sooner, or would you have not done what you did? Do you think that pressure was both good and bad? Like, what's your take on that?
On the pressure to kind of do something different
Yeah.
is what you're
And to
saying?
have a well,
Yeah.
no, to have a plan B and oh, look what you did, Troy. You better do is good for everything now. You know what I mean? Like that pressure that
Ah,
families put on us. And then by
yeah,
telling you on the flip side, you have to have a plan B, Troy, as well. Like so they're
yeah.
they're positive, but they're also got an anchor holding you back. How
Right,
did that
right.
how did that affect you? You think if that wouldn't have been there, do you think you would have trans things would have gone as quickly? Or do you think that it's required for people to move forward
You
to have
know,
that pressure from external people?
yeah, I think you need one person at least, I think, that you may not know them at the beginning of your journey, and you may know them at the beginning of your journey, or you may meet them along the way. But for me, it was again my mom. She was like the one that was like, if you're gonna do something, and this is something that she gave us from I can't remember not having that if you're gonna do something, you're going to do it well. And it's like we're not going to do half things, and that was just the way she kind of and I love it. It became a part of who I am, so much so that maybe even in some instances, I'm a little, too much sometimes. But I think, I've watched a lot of people's documentaries, and specifically recently I watched uh, Eddie Murphy's the one that's on Netflix, and I noticed a lot of the tendencies that sometimes people who reach goals that people think may be a little unreachable, they have that brutal honesty and high expectations, of themselves, or there's one person that kind of holds them accountable. So I would say for me, I love that, that I had someone that was like, I mean, I remember many times going to in high school even, I would go to do a choir concert or a talent show or do a solo, and all my, friends and, would walk up to me and go, "Oh, that was amazing. That was great. That was wonderful." And then my mom would say, "It was good, but there's a better performance than you." And I was like, I love that though. It's like for me, I was like, okay, let's go. So now I have, someone that I was like, because I knew when my mom finally did, when she had moments of like saying, that was pretty good. I was like, okay, now I know it's pretty good because, she was very quick to say, that was good, but, you know, there's better in there.
So
So,
she
I
didn't
don't
allow
know.
you she didn't allow you to be camped in your mindset. She wanted you to always be on the climb.
Yes,
That's
yes,
that's
yes.
that's awesome because maybe you appreciate it more now looking back at it,
Mhm.
right? Not to say that it wasn't a catalyst to help you, but
Yeah,
sometimes we get the committee of they that I mentioned, I think before we started recording that, they always give you what they think you want, not
yeah,
what you
right.
actually need. And that can be a detriment in our
Yes,
lives, right? To put us
yes,
up on a pedestal, but not say, okay, you're good. Right.
yeah,
Like you look like shows like The Voice, and I like the coaches
yeah, yes.
that are right on difficult. I'm a fan of the show more so than any singing show, not because they bring up more stars, they're more
Mhm.
real. You got
Yeah,
somebody like a Snoop Dogg or
right.
Niall Horan or Michael Bublé or Reba
Yeah,
McEntire like they have on this year, and they're just, you know, Joe Walsh when he's doing the coaching with them, and he's saying, you need to do this, and that,
right,
right?
right, right, right.
That's what we need sometimes in life. Your whole
Yeah,
life is pumped up that you're a perfect singer or you're gonna go far, you're gonna be another Carrie
yes,
Underwood or
yes,
or
yes,
uh,
yes.
you know whatever you want to
Right,
say as a genre. And really at
right.
the end of the day they're set up for failure because now they go onto these shows expecting that they're gonna win,
Yep.
and they have the harsh reality that there's other people better than them, not because
Yes.
they're better because they have more talent. Maybe they've learned more, maybe they've had more
Yeah.
experience, maybe they're a better listener. It's
Yeah.
tough when we get things thrown into our face to show us our weaknesses, especially from our
Yeah.
mom, right?
Yeah.
Like
That's the big
it,
one. The biggest one, Dwight, that you said though, is better listeners. That is the gift. I don't know who needed to hear that one come back again, but it's like listening is the biggest gift you can give yourself. Yeah. Better listeners. Yeah.
and you know what? It's people say, "Oh, they were born being a great listener." No, they weren't. Listening is a
No.
skill that
Yes.
you need to train your brain. That was a difficult thing at one point in time, and I still struggle with it. I'm just being real with people. Like when I do my podcast,
Mm.
I try to jot things down so I don't lose my focus on what Troy is
Oh.
saying to me, but yet I don't want to lose that thought. So I don't want to be focused on
Mm.
that thought for the next 3, 4 minutes of you
Right,
sharing and then not
right, right.
really listening. And people go, well,
Yeah.
no, it's not impossible. I tell my
Right,
brain,
right.
okay, pen to paper, write one word down that'll trigger it. Troy's done speaking.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
Troy.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So listening is not an inherent skill
No,
that is
no.
it's something you got to practice on the rest of your
Yeah,
life.
yeah, yeah. And it will change your life because it's like there's so much value in information in doing that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
no, definitely.
why wouldn't anybody want to hang on every word of what you're
Yeah.
saying, right?
Oh.
No, I'm
Oh.
just saying, why
I,
wouldn't they want
yeah.
to? When you're
Right.
investing your time
Mm,
with me and I'm investing my time with you, I always remember what about the people watching or listening? They're investing their
mm,
time too, right? So
mm.
we need to take this serious because that life is life is in session. This isn't a dress rehearsal. Is something
Yeah.
that we need to live by. So if we live by that
Right.
adage, we understand how valuable that we're taking an hour of our time, an hour and a half of our time to listen to Troy share with Dwight and vice versa. You know, I
Yeah.
gotta respect that. They're never getting that hour back. So
Mhm.
there better be
Mhm.
some meat in the game, I guess. There better
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
something there for them to hang on.
Definitely.
Maybe they're at their last straw. Right? So
Mm.
if I don't listen properly, how are they going to listen properly?
Yeah.
Right? So I really appreciate you bringing that up. So many people, what would you tell your younger self? Right?
Who,
Not
me?
the
Or
one.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
What
you
would you
pick.
tell your no? What would you tell your younger self about listening?
Yeah, well, listen more definitely would be and obviously, you can't, well, you can do whatever you want. Like people
Yeah,
in
yeah,
general can do
of course,
it.
yeah, of
But
course.
it's like you also need to understand, who's speaking to you. And like, okay, so you also need to be able to evaluate what you're being told, because not everything you're being told is applicable or good, because, I tell my kids, we're 8 billion something plus people on this planet having 8 billion independent, different experiences. It's like, so sometimes people will present information to you and it can be good information and maybe it'll work for your life. Just because it worked in their life doesn't necessarily mean it will work in your life, but you can, if it resonates with you, then, maybe there's a possibility that it will. But if you have to evaluate all the information that comes in, because everyone has an individual experience that is absolutely different than the next person sitting next to them. Even brothers and sisters have different experiences in the same house. So it's like,
In the same room because
right.
interpretation of the of an event it's just hilarious how I hear my kids like you got to realize I was a single dad of five kids. I had them full
Oh
time.
yeah.
I had four of them full time. The oldest had already she was quite a bit older than everybody was off and running, but four of them at one point in time I had all five, but then I ended up getting four of them full
Mhm.
time and listening to how they interpret what happened at the
Yes.
time versus their story of it 10, 15 years
Yes.
later and
Yeah.
they're adamant, Troy, that
Yeah.
their version is right and the other siblings saying
Yes.
no it's not.
Yes.
They look
Yes.
at me, Dad, what did you see or hear?
Yep. I
Sometimes
do.
change the subject, better to walk away, right? Because
Yes.
then all of a
Yes.
sudden emotions and anger and I tried
Mm,
teaching my kids this, Troy. Our brain is a giant computer. It does
yeah.
not know the difference between a truth and a lie.
Yeah.
People say,
Yeah.
yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Your
Yeah.
truth, your version of truth, and your version of what is a lie is programmed in you by societal norms, by what you watch, your associations, what you
Yeah.
read. And you need to admit to yourself that maybe that truth I seen back then, or maybe that truth that happened
Mm,
30 minutes ago in the room with a bunch of people, what was my mood?
yeah.
How was I filtering what I seen? Did my
Yeah.
mind create a
Yeah.
reality that was protecting myself? Am I, you know what I mean? People listening, this happens through critical thinking and
Yes.
being a knowledge leader by reading more, associating with better people,
Mhm.
finding your tribe of people that you appreciate their truth. They're willing to
Yeah.
challenge your truth and you do the same thing, right? That is
Yeah.
a tribe for me. That is something where I want them to help me understand that my programming from youth, childhood, adulthood, maybe a tragedy happening. That
Yeah.
programming I have is a little bit fractured. Not saying broken,
Yeah.
maybe it's fractured.
Right.
Maybe it is
Yeah.
outright broken. So I hope people listening or watching realize that you can train your brain. You really can. I
Hmm.
don't care if, like my podcast a week ago where I did a solo where I talked about you can learn in your 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Yes.
You can learn till
Yes.
the day you take your last breath. I hope, I hope the last breath that I take was defined by the fact that I was always learning now from my grandkids, from my
Yeah.
adult kids, maybe learning that how a situation was dealt with could have been dealt with better and owning it in my last
Hmm.
words, my last breath, saying, you know what, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize that. Thank you for sharing it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say, why did you share that 30, 40 years ago? Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. maybe they couldn't
yeah,
share their truth, right?
yeah,
Leave
yeah.
this world, right, as better than
But
the
when you
best.
came, yeah,
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 leave it when you came, right?
yeah,
Just be a good person, be kind. So I like
yeah.
that, like you said, applicable and good. People sharing stuff where they
Mhm.
maybe isn't applicable or good. I just
Maybe,
like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe it's not good for you, and that's okay. Yeah, yeah.
But why aren't we teaching this in our education system, right? Why aren't we teaching? We teach people, and again, this has nothing to do with teachers. I have a sister that's a
Right,
teacher.
right,
I have
right,
cousins, relatives. I have clients that are teachers. This is not personal to the admin or the
right,
teaching staff. This is personal to the governments in our society,
right,
teaching people to be a little automatons and good workers,
right, right, right,
not
right,
teaching them to be critical thinkers, thought leaders, to be
right.
empathetic, compassionate. Teach them all that other stuff in high school, right, or junior high, middle school, whatever you want to call it. In elementary school, teach them how to cope, teach them how to
Mm,
articulate their thoughts, teach them how to communicate, teach them these things so that if they go home to a violent household, that
mm,
they can better cope. We don't know which
yeah,
of those kids. Maybe they're good at masking it, right? Maybe we
mm,
teach them something
yeah,
so that little girl or little boy goes home to mom and dad where there's some strife. Maybe they had a tragedy, lost somebody. Maybe they've become addicted to alcohol, violence, whatever,
mm,
drugs. Maybe we give them a little bit of hope. I'm not saying it's the
yeah,
cure all, Troy. I'm just saying maybe we need to do more of what we're talking about and
right,
programming that young mind, right? When we know that it's
yeah,
set by the time they're 7 or 8, why not work on that in the first, up to grade 6, let's say 5 or 6, teaching life skills. Anyway, I
yeah,
digress.
yeah, yeah.
Welcome to
No,
share your
definitely.
thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that is our responsibility as their community and maybe as a parents, whatever. Because I'm not trying to be a negative person, but it's like I think, sometimes these systems aren't just really set up for that. And we can eventually hopefully change them to be that way. But I think we have to be the ones that do it. And, so yeah,
Until
unfortunately.
that
But maybe
happens,
that's my fractured truth. Yeah.
teaching starts. Until that happens, teaching has to start at home. We need
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
heal broken families so it's not generationally taught, right?
Right. Right.
Right? One
Right.
person at a
Yeah.
time,
Yeah. No, definitely.
right?
Definitely. Yeah.
So we talked about your origin story and some of like how life was growing up.
Mhm.
Did those early beginnings, so speaking in, you were doing the choir and you got involved with Star Shirts. I think you said we were in the last year of high school, right?
Yes. Yes.
What you were
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did that spark was slowly starting to burn inside of you?
Mhm.
Is that were all those beginnings, or did something happen that led you specifically to get into Broadway to do things that was because you said mentioned your mom, but was there any one
Mhm.
moment or catalyst that you can share that really was that all of a sudden that ember became a blazing bonfire of desire and growth for you?
I think it was always like a desire to make it happen, but I think there were little things along the way that kind of kept the desire kind of lit high. I don't know that throughout the time that I can look back that there was ever like a moment of like like a huge fire per se. It was more of like a nice fire that was always burning, with the exception of being at 45 or so. That was when I think this is my first huge fire of like, oh, I want to, share this information with people and have them, kind of live the life that they want to dream before, it's our time to go. So I think now is the biggest fire I've probably had along the whole journey. The other ones were great fires. I mean, it's like Star Search were for me, helped me know that I could do it professionally, because I was, doing it professionally on stage. And then I went back to college. And then when I went to LA, getting work there also kind of confirmed that I could do it professionally. But I say the biggest fire would have to be, getting through what people would say the midlife confusion or midlife transition, or or crisis, as some would say. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
reinvention, though, midlife crisis, whatever
Mm.
you want to call about it. Pivoting, right? That was really
Yeah.
big during the pandemic. Everybody's pivoting. They really didn't
Yes.
understand the term, and they couldn't show me action to show that they were pivoting, right? No
Right. Right.
offense, this
Right.
isn't to offend people.
Right.
Action, belief, consistency, ABC, right?
Yes.
You want to
Hmm.
reinvent
Hmm.
yourself, you want to go down a different path, use your current circumstances as fuel for that
Yes.
next path, the next
Yeah.
crossroads, right? And I don't say
Yeah.
the next chapter of life, the next book of
Mm.
your life.
Yeah.
Because a chapter
Yeah.
means that you still have all the rest hanging on in the chapter before. A new book
Mm.
is like I crack open that fresh new book to start new chapters in my life. So I
Yeah.
look at things differently. I don't know how you feel about that, but I think
I
your
like that.
reinvention is great, right? At 45, whatever. I reinvented myself so many times. I own a
Yes.
computer
Yes.
consulting firm. I've done all this different things in my life. That doesn't define me. That was a guide to who I am
Right.
today, to who I didn't want to be anymore. I was satisfied, but yet I wasn't satiated.
Right.
Satisfied and
Yeah.
being full are two, for me, are two different things. So I
Yeah.
love hearing that from you that, you had that pivotal moment, but everything
Yeah.
prior to that was why the pivotal moment could happen for you, right?
Yes. Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Those moments of connection and learning how to communicate with people, which is what music was for me, were all definitely things that added to um, being able to produce or execute or move or take action on the things that I'm doing now. Yeah,
Yeah, and
definitely.
I look at life, and if people say to you, let's say, you're going to pass away, you've cancer or something,
Mm,
and this isn't to be sad, but they look at you and say, how would you define your life, Troy? What was
yeah.
what was your biggest accomplishments? And I'm not saying you have to answer that, but most people will automatically work accolades. They talk about what they did. They
Mm,
talk, and it's not based on core values that's centered around, for me, my core values are very simplistic: faith, family, work, in that order, right? So when people ask me, I want to say, well, I was a servant. God sent me to serve others, right? Taught me
yeah,
how to get through the challenges in the valley of despair. I had to be a person cognizant of it, though, to change, to move
mm,
forward, right? But at
yeah,
the end of the day, if people ask me that question, I'm going to say to them, work wasn't my end all be all. Yes, it accomplished and served and helped others, but because of that work, I continue to strive to be a better person. So as a better dad, grandpa,
yeah,
brother, sister, friend, right? Just
yeah.
simple things like that define us. I don't want to be that person, and I don't think you are anywhere close to being that person where you're defined
Mm,
by your um your work. Like I
right.
loved reading about the fact that you authored a book with Moses, and then in reading about the fact
Mm,
that one child wanted to do, like, one of them wanted to do dance, I believe it was, and then
yes, 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 yes.
you're a father that takes them serious, and whether or not you like what they want to do, you're supportive, and then research, and
Right.
then come up with a game plan to either it's
Yes.
going to push them forward or make them realize, maybe that's not my destiny.
And
So
both are a win when both are a win when you're like, hey, I want to do this or I don't. Like both are wins. Yeah.
well, talk about that. Would you mind talking about how family is been so central in your life and in the past that you're going, and some of the books that you've
Mhm.
written? Would you share more of that personal detail?
Yeah. So with the mental toughness for young athletes book that I wrote with Moses that, we're talking about, it was written during the transition of him falling in love, like just playing basketball. He loves playing basketball, still does to this day. But there's a moment, and if there are any sports parents out there, like it's like there's a moment where we go from playing, at the Y or on the rec team to okay, now we're playing club or travel ball or whatever. And those are two different, they're very different things. And so when he started playing travel ball, it was like I could see some of the joy or whatever leave. And I was like, okay, well, one, I sat down talking with him. I said, you're saying you want to do this as your thing in life. And I was like, I can totally understand. I said the same thing when I was your age with music. I go, well, let me tell you something about the whole path of this thing. The joy is still there, but there's a lot of hard work and unfun work that comes with reaching this goal. So if at any time you're like, I don't want to do this because I don't like the unpleasant parts, that's fine. We can do something else. I said, but know that no matter what you do, no matter what the thing is, whether it's business, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's basketball, there are unfun moments that you have to work through in everything. Nothing you're going to do will you love it the entire time for your entire existence. That does not exist. So whenever you make a decision to do this or not to do this or do that, know that whatever it is that you're facing, that thing that's making you want to stop, you're going to see it again. You're going to see it again in the next thing that you do. And so we need to figure out how we're going to work through it, or if this is a situation that we want to work through it on. So I wrote that book for, like, we interviewed a lot of like pro athletes um, and basketball and football and like a soccer and a bunch of other things here in the States. And they started giving us the things that they use to get through difficult times. And I started to see, like, these things just kept appearing. So I wrote them down as in steps for us to use to get through our own. And it helped them a lot. So people were asking, like, how are you helping him, gain his confidence? How are you helping him, play through, stress and whatever? And I told them, the stuff. So I wrote it down because I was like, I wanted more people to have it. And that became the book. And it was really written for him and for our little community. And Dwight, it ended up just taking off. I think because it resonates with a lot of people who are in the same situation. And, that was the whole point. It's like to help, people. So yeah, that book has been really cool. That series has been really cool.
I like the idea though. You talk about, there's going to be joy and then hard work to
Yeah.
get to that goal. And no matter how in my life, even with my children or myself, I can hit the highest high. And then a
hmm
month later, something happens in that same journey, and I'm in the valley of despair. And I think
Yes.
so many
Yes.
of us don't challenge our children to understand, you know, I just want to be happy, Dad, or I hear this from clients.
Yeah.
But guess what? On one, I want to be happy all the time is not realistic. You
It is
have to have
not.
strife. You have to have the valley of despair in order to understand the joy of life.
Yes.
And
Yes.
good for you for doing that with Moses,
Yeah.
and telling him there's unfair moments, right? There's going
In
to be unfair
everything.
moments. Somebody might get ahead of you and it's not fair, then you have a bit more talent, have more, compassion, empathy, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But somebody else has an in because they're known by somebody. Maybe there's nepotism, who knows what it is. But at the end of the day, your light will shine if you never give up, if you
And
keep
it's funny.
striving.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, it's funny that you say that because that's what Star Search was for me. I get there and I didn't put it together until later on, until I was in the industry later. But I was in there and I did this. I'm on the stage. I'm doing it. I feel like I'm doing a great performance. The crowd is happy. They're dick clapping and all this other stuff. And then we come to the judges, and I lose by a quarter star. But before we went out, one of the producers pulled me to the side and said, "No matter what happens out there, I want you to keep going because you're really good at what you do, and you should, don't let this be the thing that stops you from doing it. Like you should be doing this, for a living if that's what you want." Um, and it wasn't until later that I realized the reason, like you were saying, the other gentleman had to go forward was because he was an international person, and so for ratings, it's better to have someone who is going to bring more eyes to their product than it is to have another kid from the States on this show. So I was like, I got it later, but I didn't get it in the moment. Yeah,
But at least you got it though. And here's why I
yeah,
bring that up. I mentioned and we talk about awareness. how many people
Mm,
listening or watching, do you look back at things that happened to you,
mm.
for you, however you want to look at it? Everybody looks at
Right,
it through a different lens. Do you look at it and have awareness like, wow, that was a turning point?
right.
Even though I didn't
Yeah.
really get it back then, that happened for me for a reason. It
Right.
sucked, but it is what it is,
Right,
right?
right,
Doesn't mean that you have to like it, right?
right.
But and then you talked about interviewing the athletes, and they're raw and real and sharing. So many
Hmm.
people sensationalize celebrities, whether it's in
Right.
sports or movies or television or whatever. Maybe it's politics. There's celebrities in
Hmm.
politics too. At the end of the day, how do they say that saying? We all put our pants on one leg at a time,
One leg at a time.
right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or one shoe at a time, unless you're really strange. And I don't know how, but at the end of the
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
we all have our trials, our tribulations, our successes,
Mhm.
our joys, and they
Yeah.
have to be in tune with one another, because if you get too full of yourself, you become that egotistical person in a bad way,
Right.
because ego can be good too, but
Right.
you
Right. Right.
become that person that forgets their roots. You forget
Yeah.
where you came from and the awareness of your communication style with other people.
Hmm.
Is what you're saying uplifting, or is it pulling them back? So talking to those
Right.
athletes, and I know you've interviewed lots of famous athletes.
Hmm.
They're real people with real struggles, and they
Right.
went through
Right.
so much to just get where they're at. And that, you know what?
Exactly.
Don't hold it against them. Now their persona of what they give out, it can be offended by it, but realize they got to where they're at. They just didn't have anybody to keep them grounded. Or
Right. Yeah.
maybe they did and they refused to be grounded,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
like you sharing that. Like Moses and your kids are so blessed, brother, to have you.
Mhm. Ah, you know what's funny? Right. I'm blessed to have them, as my teachers, because it's funny because, they always show you yourself. Your children always show you,
Oh
the things
yeah,
that
oh
you need to
yeah,
work on, right?
oh
Because
yeah.
they got their examples on how to be a human being from you. So anything that you're seeing in them, for the most part, I mean, obviously when they become teenagers, they start developing their own, people and personalities. But for the most part, in the beginning, it's basically you and a different person. So it's like if you're seeing something that's bothering you, take a look in the mirror because you're probably doing
And find a good book. Find a
it.
good book or a good mentor
Right.
or a good mastermind, because
Yeah.
I can remember one of my daughters challenging me about marriage, being
Mm,
man and wife, and talking about gay marriage. And this was back when
mm,
Canada was looking to legalize it, 20, let's say 20 years ago. She may
mm,
be 12 or 13, and we got into discussion, and my normal response, and most parents' normal response, is based on a filter of how we were raised within
mm.
our non-religion or our organized religion, or just thought processes from people making
Right.
off-candor comment. They weren't telling you
Mm.
necessarily, but you're a young mind hearing this, and all of a
Right,
sudden you're a
right, right.
filter now. And I sat there and I thought, oh my gosh, my reaction is going like, this is what the, blah, blah, blah says, and
Mm,
this is what the society religion says. And I just heard her out. She may be 12 or
mm,
13. Did it sting?
mm,
Oh yeah, it stung, because
mm.
my brain was going, that's not the reality of things, right? And
Right.
and what kept me going was the fact that I was on a personal development journey already for a long
Mm,
time. And I just was continuing to feed myself different thought prospects, not being
mm.
confirmation, trying not to be confirmation bias in our thought process, right? It's so
Right,
important when we're
right.
raising children. Like you said, they're the mini me that you created, but it doesn't
Yeah.
mean you can't admit to them your faults. I've admitted to my kids, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't realize back then I was green as a parent, and they're
Right.
like they're not shocked anymore.
Right, right,
I'm
right.
sorry,
Yeah.
because I've grown, right? We
Yeah.
changed, and I'm going to
And
continue
that's the
to teach
point.
them.
We grow. We have to grow. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. So thank you so much. But you're right though. We are blessed to have our children.
Yeah.
My life has never been the same from when I was a single person to having kids,
Mm,
obviously, and going through
mm,
divorce and going through all the challenges of raising him, as a single dad full time, and four of them being daughters and one being a son, just so you know. So I had a lot of,
Yeah,
lot,
yeah.
lot of what girls in the house, which caused me as an empath to be always like in the state of crazy in some days, but and calm on others. Love my family, but we are blessed to have our kids because we didn't
Yeah,
evolve and change without them. But it's also you
right.
got to do this. You got to pat yourself in the back, brother, right?
You go.
Because without awareness and work, right? You wouldn't have developed into who you are so you can connect with your children. So that's that synergy. What we all talk about wanting, why don't my kids talk to me? I hear that from people. Then they start sharing me their stuff and then I find out who they are, what they present. And then it makes it so clear because I do life coaching too, right? And I'll tell people, you're gonna some of this is gonna be really hard to hear this. Are you ready? Are you
That's the thing,
willing?
yeah, people, it's like you need to be ready and willing to hear the hard conversations because that's really where your growth and transitions lie. It's like you have to go through the hard conversations. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
What would you say would be something that if somebody was listening and they think they're ready for that, is there something you would say to them that they can really push themselves over that comfort zone line? Because in our comfort zone, we never succeed and grow. How
No,
would you
no.
what would you say to them, like maybe something that worked for you or just something that pops into your head? How would you help people be more aware that they're ripe for being the willing and to start accepting new ideas and leave behind the old ones?
When you were saying that, a couple of things came to my mind, and there's this book that a lot of people probably know from Bronnie Ware, called The Top Five or Top 10 Regrets of the Dying, or something like that. I think it's called.
Hmm.
And the number one regret is I wish that I would have lived. The number one regret. She was a hospice nurse, so she worked with people who were at the end of life. And she said the number one regret that she heard was, I wish that I would have lived a life true to myself and not one that I thought others expected of me. And I'm telling you, that right there for me is always the reason why I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's step into discomfort because there's something, and every time that I've stepped into discomfort, there's been amazing things on the other side of the journey. With books, they have the dark night of the soul and the hero chased the feet or whatever it's called. And those stories resonate with us for a reason, which is most of the time when you hit the valley of despair and you're in the space where it's like, I don't know if it's gonna work out, and I tried this and it looks horrible. If you keep going, is when all of the things click together and the doors open up and the angels sing and the magic happens. But during that deep valley of despair, it's like you can't see it. I'm saying all that to say, the thing you're looking for, that happiness, that goal or whatever, is always on the other side of some pretty intense discomfort, and it's always worth it. Always worth it. So hopefully that's helpful to someone.
Oh, I think it will be. Actually, I know it will be. It's a reminder for me. It's
Yeah,
constantly right? That discomfort, that pit in your stomach, that tight
yeah,
chest, those are all
yeah,
indicators, right? Don't ignore
yeah,
them, right? By
yeah.
pushing them aside, you're just slowing your life. You're in that camp mode. And if
All right.
you even have an iota of that you're stuck,
Yeah.
take on that pain and discomfort. But, great books will help you get that. Even the most simplistic book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, right?
Yeah.
Just really simplistic books that don't take much to read will teach you how to answer a phone with a smile, which changes your emotional state.
Yeah.
Just little things. Take those little baby steps. Reach out to people like Troy
Yeah.
or myself. Have conversations, right?
Yeah.
And if it feels
Yeah.
uncomfortable, it's probably a good thing. I'm talking mental,
Yes.
not physical, but mental, right?
Right.
Emotional,
Right.
right? So you're
Right.
right. We just keep on keeping on. I love this story
Yeah.
because I love how fatherhood and works and creating a legacy with our children.
Mm.
And you've gone so much farther, absolutely, with writing a book and supporting your kids' dreams and aspirations
Mm.
and and being that grounding, that lightning rod for them. And really, in essence, like you said earlier, our kids, we're blessed for them. They're a lightning rod and a grounding
Bro,
rod for
yeah,
us too, right?
yeah, yeah.
They keep,
They
because
really
you know
are.
what? They're watching. So what I say
Hmm.
on a podcast or write in my book or say at an event with them, right? That is your living legacy. Are you watching
Yeah,
what you say? Are you setting a good
right.
example? Don't be that parent or that friend or that boss that says, do what I say, not what I do.
Not as I do. Right.
They
Yeah,
should be
yeah.
both the same.
Hmm.
What people
Yeah,
see of me, Troy, behind closed doors is me when the doors are open.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the way it should be. Be genuine, be
Definitely.
honest,
Yeah.
right?
No,
So,
definitely should be.
yeah. So let's get into it a little bit, um, into the performance lessons of life, things that you've done
Mm.
with Broadway, toured with bands, competed on national television. You've talked a little bit about it, but with all of that, what were some of the transferable skills that you utilized or still utilize that apply to leadership and business that you currently do?
I think the biggest thing was, Don Miguel Ruiz talks about it in his book, The Four Agreements, and that is not taking things personally. The thing that I learned along that journey is that we tend to think, oh, it's because I didn't do this, or it's because I did do this, or like you were saying before, it's like I got this because of this, or I didn't get this because of that. It's like it's usually never personal. It's usually, whatever happened because this circumstance happened, or they needed this person, or they needed that element or whatever that you did or were not able to provide. So one was learning not to take things personally, and the second thing was learning that everybody is trying to do their best. It's like, everyone is trying to do the best that they feel they can do for whatever the situation is. So if you can understand that, you can have empathy for, their successes and shortcomings, knowing that they're trying their best, for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely, though I triggered on the word empathy. It is not
Mm.
something that is practiced enough. Yet
Right. Right.
yet people demand it for themselves, from others, but yet they don't know how to give it out,
Give it, yes,
right?
yes,
They don't know how to give
yes.
it out. And I'm not, you can have natural tendencies of being an empathetic person, being an
Mm.
empath. Um, if you even feel a little bit responsible of how other people feel, and you
Right.
can pick up on it, right? And what they've done or said made you feel bad. Just think of what you've done or said, how it makes them feel, right?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to
Yeah.
be genuine with people and say, "Hey, Troy, I noticed your body language change. I noticed we haven't
Mm.
talked in a few weeks. Did I say or do something wrong, Troy? If I did,
Mm.
let's head it off. Let's talk about it. Let's work on this, so that I
Yeah.
can get better." My intention was never, I thought about our conversation and I may have said something that triggered you. And sometimes Troy
Mm.
will say, "Hey, Dwight, it wasn't necessarily you. You triggered me because I thought about something else and it just felt uncomfortable and I needed to stew in
Yeah.
it for a while. I'm still working
Yeah.
on it, or I'm stuck. Thanks for reaching out. I didn't know how to get
Mm.
past it. Oh, maybe I could be the catalyst to help you." Or,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm sorry if I did that, Troy. That was not my intent. Let's work on this." So
Yeah.
being empathetic takes effort. It takes
Yeah.
work,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
ABC, action, belief, consistency. Are you taking action and do you believe that you were a catalyst to help somebody get out of something? Maybe talk about that. Maybe they can encourage you so you can utilize that with somebody else. Conversation, relationships is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. No, definitely. Definitely true. Yeah.
So before we dive into your books, I want to share something a little personal. Many of my listeners have heard this before, but I like sharing this before we get into the conversation of books. And
Hmm.
when I started writing my own story, just putting thoughts to paper, it was unexpectedly cathartic for me. I
Hmm.
ended up
Yeah.
connecting with both the good and bad that I'd lived through, right? Sometimes patting myself in the back, other times as I'm reading the edited version the editor sent back, kicking myself in the pants, realizing that I should have done more.
Mm.
It was like a wake-up call. It literally helped me celebrate things that I never celebrated, when I thought I had.
Mm.
But it also realized that sometimes I celebrated too long. And then there was other things, then there was other realizations that what? You haven't, you just wrote about that, but really, have you done enough? You know what I mean? So it was a swift kick in
Mm.
my pants. So this kind of reflection opened doors inside of me that I did not know that were locked. So I know firsthand how storytelling can heal. What was the writing process for like for you personally? Did it feel cathartic at all? Was it what you expected?
Oh no, it definitely was. And the funny thing about writing is, as you know, being an author, you have to read what you've written, four, five, six, seven, eight times. So you really get in contact with what you're saying and what you've done. But it's totally a healing process, and also an inspirational process in many cases, because you get to go, oh, like you said, I did this, or I overcame that, or this message really resonates with me. So yes, it's a great process. I think everyone should have an opportunity to do to write something, definitely. Yeah.
So, and your writing journey happens mostly because of your connection with your children, your
Yes,
passion.
most of them are about, like, even the beginning, the dad one, where first time being a first time father, first time dad. It's about, that moment of, going through the pregnancy and really having to learn how to navigate, those different things with our newly forming family and the doctors and nurses that we were coming in contact with. So yeah, they're all connected to family in some way, shape, or form.
Which is
Yeah.
good. Your core values speak loud.
Mm.
Your core values are loud, and I appreciate
Mm.
that, right?
Thank
That's
you. Thank
centric around family. You're welcome. I tell this to a lot of people when you write a book, it isn't, it shouldn't be to make money. It should be about
you.
the centric around teaching and educating other. Most authors are lucky if they sell 5,000 books. It's
Yeah.
statistically proven.
Yeah.
And to,
Mm.
to sell as many as you have, your message is screaming out to the masses and being, other people are sharing it, obviously, and then people are buying it. Like you mentioned, your books were
Mm.
specific to help out a specific child, but
Mm.
that it just proves that we're all connected. There's other
Yeah.
people that have the same, maybe that's their journey is a little bit different, it has nuances, but there's always commonalities.
Right.
And for that to spark and go off like it did, wow, that still blows
Mm.
my mind when I was reading that, like 287,000 or whatever it was the number, just under
Yeah.
300,000. And you talking about, first time dad. How many
Mm.
people are vulnerable enough to share that? Most guys are taught to have that vibrato and they're
Right.
male
Right.
and this and that. And good for you for doing that. Like, so many great books. Obviously, I'm more than a first time dad, but when I
Nah.
think
Yeah.
back on when we had our first child, I think to myself, wow, wouldn't that have been a great book to have? So those listening, watching, this just isn't about the sports books or helping a child understand the challenges, tribulations, the wins, the losses of getting forward in life. It could be as simplistic of as you reading a book by Troy that's just about his life experiences, being that first time dad. Maybe you need that. Maybe
Yeah.
you're nervous. I've known so many nervous first
Mm.
time dads. Oh my goodness, right?
Yeah. I was one. Very, because it's like, it's scary. You've got a human being that, you've got to take care of, and inside the human being is another human being. So you're just like, oh my gosh, it's quite a task. Yeah.
And when I read about that and I read the blurb about the book, I'm thinking to myself, wow, really?
Mhm.
That was that was something that, I could have
Yeah.
utilized. And oh wow. It's those epiphanies, it's those brain moments in our emotional and our mental mindset into our soul when you connect with written words or audible words and stuff. And if it makes you feel glad, man, that book, I recommend it to people listening. If you haven't had kids, I haven't read it, obviously, but just
Mm.
getting to know you and understanding your heart-centric mission to support and
Mm.
help people. I imagine that book would help a lot of men out there that are nervous about maybe they're trying to have a kid and they're not pregnant yet,
Mm. Right,
right?
right, right.
Maybe they need to
Yeah,
understand and they can now support their significant other better,
yeah,
right?
yeah. No, we talk about that as well because that's part of the process as well, which is really
Part
cool.
of
Yeah.
part of the process of love.
Um,
Sorry.
yeah, well, yeah, no, I'm talking about that at the beginning of the book. We talk about, the idea and things you can do to assist with conception and stuff like that as well. So yeah,
Oh, so
it's
it's oh wow, that's awesome you shared that. So it's so much more connected than I thought. And that's good though.
mm,
Being vulnerable like that is very hard for men, right?
yeah,
I wish it wasn't, but it is because we've been told we have to be here's our defined definition of what a man is.
right,
Don't we all get
yeah,
pigeonholed into that, right? So
yeah.
I appreciate that. So when we talk about core values, what would you say your core values are? They don't have to be long, right? In regards to
Hmm.
work, relationships, I talked about like my core values are three and they have subcategories. They do. But what would you say are your core values that have kept you consistently growing and grounded for your family and yourself?
One is like if you get in a feeling or vision of something you want to do, go for it. Yeah, really go for it. And then second, know that in going for it, it's going to be usually 10 to 20 to 30 times more work than you thought it was going to be when you set out. But you definitely can do it. Actually, those would be the two things that I would say. Don't limit yourself and know that it's going to be a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it. Yeah.
Well, that's good though, because so many people will share with others the negative aspect, but they don't
Mm,
necessarily focus on the yin and yang of things, right?
right, right,
Anger,
mm,
right?
right.
Sadness, what? I have all this and then I can have joy? Absolutely,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You can have both. So I appreciate that. How did, I started my own business. I learned quickly that entrepreneurship part of me is about resilience and vision. It's not just
Yeah.
about profit, it's about creating something that empowers others. I imagine starting your school, right? Which you started with your
Mm,
wife, correct? Your
yes.
Colorado School of Acting. What business lessons did you learn from starting that school? Like, did it help hone you are who you are as an entrepreneur and a business person?
Um, there is this saying I heard a while ago that said peach trees don't eat peaches or pear trees don't eat pears or whatever it is. And the whole idea behind that was what I learned was most of the time, your friends and family or the people around you are not your clientele. And that's something because I think a lot of people hop on and they go, why don't my friends support me or my family support me? And one thing I tell entrepreneurs all the time is like, their job is to support you as the human friend family connection that we have, not necessarily as the business owner that you have. Your job as an entrepreneur, business owner, in my experience, is to go to find the people that need your service and to serve them. And usually those are people that need to go out and find to serve. It's been my experience in entrepreneurship. Yeah, that's been one of the big lessons for me.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
you know what? The fact that you have lessons that you can share,
Mm,
that you've
mm,
experienced shows your growth.
mm,
It shows the fact that, there is things that we learn throughout our journey and we get better and
mm.
better. You can even
Yeah,
have a business like that and go start another business and you think they're similar and you still make mistakes, right? It's still things pop up and we get overconfident and we forget to
yeah,
have humility and be humble and stuff like that. So
yeah.
it's nice to understand that throughout all this you're continuing to grow.
Yes, you have to. You have to keep growing. And, even as you get older, I think sometimes it gets a little more difficult because you remember the failures, but it's like that is the best time to grow. I think when you get older, because you know so much more. Yeah,
Oh, of
I think.
course.
Mm,
Yeah. You think what?
yeah. No, no, that's
Oh,
all I was saying. It's like, yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
it's
you know
just
so much more when you're older. So you gotta. A lot of people say, when you get older, that's the time to, I don't know, retire or wander out the pasture or whatever. And I'm like, that is like going to university or going to elementary school or going to high school, graduating with all this information, all the things, the classes you struggled through, the classes maybe failed or whatever, and then getting this diploma in the school of life and going, all right, I'm done. It's like, no, this is the time to apply all those things that you learned and, kind of to be a master at this, at the game of life, I think, later on in life.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, look at society though. You get out of school, depending on what you went to school for, and
Mm,
schools themselves, society themselves, based on position, teach you entitlement. And you come out thinking
mm.
you've arrived, and really, when it's just the first
I
stepping
know.
stone,
Yeah, we're just getting started.
it proves to employers, or if you become an entrepreneur right away, which it happens, that it just
Hmm.
proves to people that you have the ability to learn, that you're
Right,
willing
right,
to not be a quitter, that you're
right.
willing to win on the other side by making it through 2 years, 4 years, whatever you've gone to school for. It all it is a catalyst to spark your mind, that ember to grow it. And then you have to
Right.
go out and be the best version of yourself. It takes
Yeah.
effort. Quit being
Hmm.
entitled. If you're one of those people that's listening and you think to yourself, well, my buddy went to engineering school. He come out and was a totally different person. Guess what? I've experienced that from people, right?
Yeah.
And they have that entitled attitude, and all of a sudden now they're one peg above you on the social scale. Are you kidding me? Right? I love how you put that. School is a catalyst to moving forward, not the end all and be all.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely. Definitely. Definitely is.
So I got a question in regards. So you've worked with lots of athletes, right?
Mm,
You've talked to them, you've been inspired by them, and you also inspire people over 40 to chase their
mm.
dreams. What lessons from all this connection, from the elite athletes to other people that you've communicated to, translate to everyday people chasing their goals and dreams?
Yes. One thing would be, that specifically people over 40 or over in that midlife transition, it's like you actually know the things you thought you knew when you were 20. Now you actually know them. So now it's the perfect time to apply those things to your life. It's like you're almost like you're the Jedi master that, the student. And you can see this in in sports, and I can see it in music. It's like there are young musicians who can do all of the runs and all the technical things, and you've got all the tools. But Winston Marsalis actually said this a little while ago. It's like, if you can't connect with me, it doesn't matter. If you can't make me feel something, it doesn't matter. And it's like, so you're like now this master that can, like, the young student comes out and they're doing all the things and they're trying to, they're showing you all the things that they can do, and then you walk up with one finger and go, "Boop," and they're like, oh, it's like you now have that one finger and knowledge and information, and you don't need to do all those things. So now is the perfect time, to apply that knowledge that you have. My son actually played some games like with some pros and like that, and they were telling him, it's like, when he was younger and in high school, they were like, you're working too hard. Right? It's like he's out there playing. It's like the game needs to slow down. You need to, when he was like a freshman, they're like, you need to learn how to slow the game down. You need to learn how to take fewer actions and make sure the actions that you take are more effective. But we don't need all of the other things. We need for you to become a master at, efficiency and at getting things done with the least amount of energy or steps or whatever. And at 40 plus, you now know those steps. So those are the things I say are benefit at this age of life.
Those are, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you want to take your naive nature of where you think you know it, and then when you actually are seasoned and know it, why wouldn't you want to aspire to be more? And I don't care what
Right.
age you are. I honestly
Right.
don't. If you're
Yeah.
70 listening to this show, Colonel Sanders didn't give up, right?
Right. Right. Right.
right? 62 years of
Yeah.
age, and 1,100 places rejected him. Didn't give up,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
He only had
Yeah.
18 plus years left of his life. He didn't say, "Oh, I'm going to sit back and be,
Right.
eat ding dongs and some of the day and KFC the rest, like eat my chicken.
Right.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
go out and strive to be the best version because what happens if you live 30, 40 more years? You don't know with
Yeah.
medical technology, and you
Yeah.
have all that knowledge. You don't want it to die in you. Let's work on it. Let's share
No.
it with the masses, right?
Right.
Who
Because
wants
there's
who
someone out
wants
there who needs it.
agreed.
Yeah. There's someone out there
Right?
who needs it from, and they need it from you specifically. That's the other thing that I learned in doing this research for this book. It's like they need it from you. There are people. A friend of mine said it's like we come here in debt, or not in a debt, in debt, but kind of like in alignment or having a promise to groups of people that said, "Hey, he's like he believes like spiritually we came here with this obligation," and they said, "Okay, I'm going to do this, but you need to do this and set it up so that I can see that I can do it, and that's going to catapult me into doing whatever, kind of like with the Eddie Murphy documentary. It's like Eddie Murphy did his comic tour, and there was Kevin Hart was, I believe, on there. There was Dave Chappelle. There was Chris Rock. And some other people, but they were saying, because I saw, they said to Eddie, because I saw you do it, I knew it was possible for me. So can you imagine had he chosen not to do it, then we don't have those people. It's like we all, I believe, have that commitment to other people who need to see you specifically do whatever that goal or dream is. And if you don't do it, you're not only robbing yourself, you're robbing humanity and those people that you don't know who need to see you specifically do whatever it is that you have that goal or dream or vision in your mind to do.
Oh, absolutely. There's going to be
Yeah.
people that are watching that have their lives change that you'll never ever know,
Right. Right.
right? It's a
Yeah.
blessing when they reach out and say,
Yeah.
you made a difference for my daughter in high school after
Yeah.
my book came out. Oh, that's awesome. Right? Or you
Yeah.
made a difference for me. I didn't think I could go through life and he's a friend of mine lives in Texas. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He's got a huge successful business. He posted that one chapter of my book, pushed him over the edge in a
Mm.
good way. Right? Pushed him over the edge in a good way and he reached out and he posted about it and it made my heart glad. Do I need that to feel like I'm satisfied? No, but it's sure nice to
Right.
get accolades
Yeah.
and recognition that one more person I made a difference.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe there's one, 10, 100, 1,000 people that I've influenced. And I don't need to know. I just need to understand that my voice can carry and I need to use that voice, right? Just like you are, just like we all are. One of the things I wanted to ask you, so, how did it affect your son? So, when you were doing those interviews, this is backing up a little bit about the book, right? You interviewed
Yeah.
legends like Kobe Bryant and Chauncey Billups. Can you share a
Mm.
powerful lesson or story that you and your son learned from those two that made a big impact for both of you, not just one of you?
Yes, one of the big things was learning intense focus and obsession over your craft. So they said, in the beginning, of being a kid, it's like there was time when they were, obviously just being a kid and doing whatever they want. But I remember specifically both Kobe, but Chauncey specifically said, right around eighth or ninth grade, I knew that if I was going to make this into something like professionally or whatever, I was gonna have to go all in and be obsessed over basketball. It's like I knew that that was the only shot I had to, making it to where I wanted to go. So for me, that was a lesson that I keep learning from other people, like, content creators like Mr. Beast or Kai Cenat, or seeing, other people out there. They say there needs to be a point in your life where you are obsessed with whatever it is that you're doing. Meaning, you wake up in the morning, you work on it for the majority of the day, and you work on it before you go to sleep for years. Where you're just like, this is what I am obsessed with doing. So that was a lesson that I got from them. It's like you have to be obsessed at some point along the journey.
That makes so much sense, right? Never thought about it in that
Mm,
terms, but it is. If you're not committed at a very high level, how do you achieve
very
anything
high.
in life, right? You have to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
committed, right? The sleepless nights wanting to learn my craft of,
Yeah.
teaching people financial planning
Yeah.
and making it relationship centric versus press hard three copies and transactional was a
Right.
process
Right.
because I had a lot of resistance because people weren't utilized, or pardon me, not wrong word, weren't trained, weren't aware or used to
Mm,
somebody literally caring and giving a heck about them. And
yeah.
why are we talking about where we've been and where we want to go, Dwight? We just want to buy this investment. We just want to get this. We just want to get this
Right.
this life insurance. We just want to do this, and that. And to be compassionate, to understand where they're coming from because of learned behavior. And sometimes I couldn't get through them because we weren't on the same wavelength. We weren't in the same
Yeah.
communication level. They weren't where they could receive what I was saying, and it wasn't a good fit. Right.
Yeah.
But I had to learn to have boundaries even as I've developed my career in finance and life skills coaching the last 24 years. I've had to
Yeah.
learn to understand that not everybody is my cup of tea. Not everybody am I their cup of tea. So
Mm,
be willing to walk away and find, we talked about this earlier, the willing. And
yeah.
realizing that, just keep on keeping on, people, right?
Yeah.
Troy and I are
Yeah.
going to keep
Yeah.
on touching people in a positive way to help them continue to climb. And guess what? As we do that, it's a reaffirmation for ourselves that we're always on the climb, that we're
Definitely.
always needing to satiate our mental and our emotional cup, right?
Hmm.
And we still might make mistakes. And it's okay to admit them to those that are close in your tribe if it's something you don't want to admit on a soapbox platform, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe you share it with somebody and they say, "Hey, you need to make that a social post. You need to stand on the
Right.
soapbox because that's a message everybody, maybe that'll be your catalyst. You do it once,
Hmm.
and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you feel the desire and drive to make a difference and change." So anyway,
Yeah.
I'll get off my soapbox.
Yeah. No, that's great. You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
So I would love to hear your thoughts on, before we close up, this is going to be the last question I ask you. I know from my
Mm,
own life that giving a heck means refusing to quit even when odds are stacked against you.
right.
There were times I could have given up, but choosing to push forward, I changed everything. And our conversation's been about this. I would love to hear your thoughts, what giving a heck means to you personally. And what would you say directly to somebody that feels like giving up so they can choose not to quit and keep pushing forward?
Mm. You know, for some reason, and I'm going to just let, for some reason, this verse has been in my mind these last few weeks, and that verse it just keeps coming back to me, and it's seek ye first the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you.
To you.
And then later in the same book, we are told the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God is within you. So what I received from that was if you're seeking the kingdom which is within you, which is a connection with all the things that are going on inside your head, inside your mind, and with yourself, if you seek that connection, understanding of that person, of who you are, all of the other things that you're seeking will be added unto you. So if you're having trouble connecting with people or other things, begin with connecting with yourself and getting familiar and falling in love with that person that is yourself. And once you are like grounded and centered in who you are, all the other things will be added to you. But I think starting with understanding yourself is something that I think helps a lot of people that we don't talk about a lot, I would say.
Wow, I love that passage. That was, in my brain because
Mm-hmm.
I like singing. I'm thinking of the song that they sing in church about, seek ye first, right? The kingdom
Mm-hmm.
of God
Yeah, yeah.
and his righteousness. And I'm thinking, and I can feel the overwhelming joy of
Mm,
that passage, but also the song, at least that I'm familiar with. Many people might
yeah.
not be, but what an awesome closing message.
Mm,
You know, you are inspired to share that through your connection, through God, through the Spirit. It inspires me to continually want to be centric to my belief systems, my connection
mm,
to Jesus, to God. So I appreciate that. That is
mm,
I'd be shocked if my editor, who's probably listening to this right now, because he listens, that he doesn't pick this as one of the reels, because that is so
mm.
powerful. And he lives in the Philippines, and
Oh,
we
nice.
we go through a lot of conversation right now. They just suffered another typhoon
Mm,
there, and
yeah.
they've gone through so much. And he's heart centric to God, right? And
Mm,
it's just a relate. He's been my editor for 5 years. The same person, the same whatever. The guy goes through fire. Just to praise him, a couple weeks ago, he had to drive out of his way to find a consistent internet connection and with
mm,
power because they had lost power.
right.
And just to get my episode done and up on time, he went through, HE double hockey sticks to get it done, right? And that was that just him or I and our connection, or was it
Mm,
God speaking through us
yeah,
both, right?
yeah,
So I
yeah.
love your message. So,
Mm.
what's the best way that people can reach you, brother?
Yeah, just troyhorne.com, TroyHorne.com is the best way to reach me. All the stuff is, connected through there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Mm,
fantastic. For those that are new to Give a Heck, go to giveaheck.com. At the top, you'll see a podcast menu item. Click on that, and there you will see a picture of Troy along with
mm,
detailed show notes. I'll ensure all his social media links are in there, his website. There'll be chapter summaries for those that want to listen to specific parts of the show again. It'll be easy for you to find it. Plus, for those of you very small number, but I do put the full unedited um, transcript there as well. So you'll be able to one-stop shop to find out about Troy. You don't have to pull over your vehicle. Hopefully you didn't, but if you
mm,
did, good for you. That means you're the willing, right? If you pulled over your vehicle to jot some stuff down or just listen to this show or catch what he just said about how to access him, good for you. I take that as a positive. But if you didn't, and you're wondering, oh my goodness, we're at the end of the show now. How am I going to find this? Just go to giveaheck.com, right?
mm.
I make sure to showcase the people that have invested in all of us, right?
Mm.
And I appreciate you, Troy. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me. This has been fun. Thank you.
Any last final words before I wrap up the show?
No, I would say whatever it is that you see in your mind or you see as a possibility for you, it is a possibility. Just give yourself the gift of going for it. Yeah. Give yourself that gift for
I
you.
love that.
Yes.
I love that. I love that. Thanks again, Troy. So, as we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with something I've learned through hosting this podcast and living my own journey. Living on purpose is not a destination, it is a daily decision. Whether it is writing your story, sharing your truth, or choosing to show up with intention, every moment is an opportunity to rewrite the narrative. Guests like Troy remind us that passion and purpose can be reignited at any stage of life. His journey from Broadway to best-selling book shows that creativity and resilience are timeless. The truth is, we all have a story worth telling. And when we choose to live with mindset, resilience, and purpose, we stop surviving and start thriving. So, wherever you are right now, whether you're stuck searching and soaring, remember you have the power to live your life on purpose and not by accident. Until next time, remember it is never too late to live your life and keep giving a heck.
Thank you for taking time out of your day and listening to Give a Heck. If you find value, I'd appreciate you sharing with your friends and family so they too can learn how to live life on purpose, not by accident. So you do not miss the next episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and please also post a review. I look forward to reading your comments. This has been Dwight Heck. If you want to check out other podcast episodes or today's show notes, please check out my website, giveaheck.com. And until next time, Together, let us all strive to give a heck.